Okay, thanks everyone for coming. It's great to be surrounded by friends, and most of you guys were involved in the production of Bangkok City of Angels. Tom Earls helped write it, did some research with me. Tom Vater was one of our interviewees. Matt wrote the whole thing, most of it. Frank Hurst is his undercover name, is a secret spy intelligence officer, drug enforcement officer. Paul has kindly let us use his club for the night. Noah was one of our interviewees, as was Bangkok Pat at the back there, and Christopher Moore. All helped to put this film together. And we were talking about the general seed of the idea was to make a documentary about Bangkok, a historic documentary going from 1820, when we had the first cholera, well, not the first, the major cholera outbreak in Bangkok, and the vulture scene in Wat Saket was actually inspired by one of Bangkok Pat's videos. I'm not sure if you picked up on that. He filmed the temple and the cast vulture statues, and I thought that would be a good place to start it. And then obviously we had COVID, which is 2020, and I thought, why not frame this film in disaster? Two epidemics either side. So this is our second, we're both from a writing background, so we're going to use the word draft. It's the second draft of the film, so we're open to suggestions to improve the films. There's some problems with some of the text, some of the footage, and this is why we do this. It's a test screening. So if anyone has any suggestions, let's use this opportunity to voice those, but also realize I'm using this for a promotional push for the film, so don't be too critical.
Or be critical and we'll cut it out.
Be critical and we cut it out.
So none of your bullshit fans are okay, just a warning from the start.
So yeah, should we open it up to John?
Forgot my question.
Do you have any questions? What I'm going to do, because I'm the only one who's mic'd up, so if you have any questions, I will, or any comments, I will repeat it and then we can discuss it.
I was curious about the use of public footage.
The use of public footage.
Hollywood stuff, Blade Runner and the beach.
Oh right, so we have a reference to Blade Runner from Mike Messner at the Patpong Museum, and he was saying how when he first arrived to Bangkok, it reminded him of the film he had seen in his youth, Blade Runner. So my understanding is the footage we used were from trailers, and trailers are, you can correct me, should be public domain. They're used for commercial purposes to promote the movie. We're not taking Blade Runner and pretending we made it. We're clearly saying that this is Blade Runner, and the same with the beach as well. So I'm not an entertainment lawyer, but I think we're safe to use that footage. And the problem with a documentary like this, there's a lot of stuff that we have to look at and see what the copyright issues are. One of our favourite clips is from a pornographic movie shot in Bangkok in the 1970s called Hot Sex. And it's actually a really nicely shot movie. If you skip past the sex parts, it has these nighttime shots of Pat Pong and the two girls in the boat. That part, a lot of that footage is really nice. And it just happens to be from a movie that nobody is claiming copyright to. It's totally fair game as far as we can see.
What are they doing in the boat?
Rowing. The guy at the back's rowing.
Rest between other things, I think.
Gentlemen, a question: have you thought of doing a trailer for this? A 1 or 2 minute trailer? as a way of trying to get a distributor or a deal for the documentary?
Yeah, so what I've done, the clips that I've used in the film of the interviewees being filmed, I have them isolated with no background music. So it's just a case of choosing the best parts of those and put them into a kind of 2-minute narrative, and then having an overriding soundtrack. I might get somebody else to do that, but there definitely will be a trailer
Yeah.
and a poster.
You might want to bring in a story editor to help you conceptualize what material you'll use for the trailer and how it's cut.
No, that's a very good point.
Yeah. And I think the thing about this film is, as we say in the film, there's pre-COVID there was 40 million visitors to Thailand. And those numbers have come up. Apparently it's now again the most visited city in the world, post-COVID. So there are many people in the world who have either been to Thailand or are going to Thailand or live in Thailand and have an emotional connection with Bangkok. So it's just a case of finding those people.
Yeah.
And that could be going to a distributor or going direct to market, Amazon Prime or Film Hub distribution. But the audience is there. It's a big subject, and it's a matter of finding them, and the trailer will help us do that.
I think part of the rationale for me, I was saying earlier, that the film's an alibi, because the number of times that I say to people, and I'm off to Thailand, and they say, no, Thailand. And the instant reaction is, well, no, I'm pretty sure that you don't, because it is a lot of the things that people think of as the stereotypes, and it's also dozens of other things. And I mean, the point about, for me, trying to make the film was it's, to one extent, it's a teaser. So it's, look at all these other things, and we're trying to make a hint that there's a deeper story on each of those. I mean, the fact is you could make an entire documentary about any of the individual subjects that we touched on, the acceptance of transgenderism, the cuisine, the nightlife, the history of, how we got from the capital being at Ayutthaya through we've got to be a bit careful with anything to do with the royal family, obviously, but each of those individual subjects was intended as a taster to say you could dig a lot deeper in this. And what I'm hoping is that people will look at at this film and say, wow, actually, there's more to Thailand than I thought. And we haven't even touched on things like, the nature, the geography, there are just so many amazing things that we haven't even got to. So it's a taster film in one respect for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think all cities are this kind of complex puzzle which you have to unravel if you're going to enjoy it. And I think a lot of people expats especially spend their life trying to unravel Bangkok, and there's even like a kind of one-upmanship, isn't there? I remember years ago when someone had been in Thailand for 2 years and you'd been here for like 2 weeks. Screw you, what do you know? But 22 years later, I'm still just on the surface, just uncovering little pieces and trying to find out more.
Oh.
Any more comments, advice?
It all looked very smooth. I mean, James, what difficulties did you come across when filming that and putting that together?
Actually shooting it, filming it, we had controlled environments, so we did no exterior. It was all studios. Everyone turned up on time. Everybody performed well on camera. So that was all plain sailing. The selection of archive and stock footage to use was a bit of a headache. There's lots of choices. It's not like a narrative film where you just have a dialogue scene or an action scene and it's all on the script. It's wealth of material, and which one do you choose to put where? And also the narration for me was a bit of a headache. The narrator, she was brilliant, but she wanted the whole film completed before she submitted her narration, so I had to narrate it myself the first time and then restructure it and put her narration in, which was good because it gave me a chance to rebuild. It was like building a house, knocking it down, building it back up again. And each time you rebuild it, it gets a little bit smoother. That's why you can see in the early part of the film was rebuilt more times, and I think it runs smoother as a consequence.
Can I ask about the film obviously covers a very wide area of Thailand culture and demonstrates that Bangkok is culturally unique in many ways. But there's so many different subjects within the 40 minutes or hour we listen to watch the film. Any opportunities or any ideas you have of thinking about maybe taking that into new territory in terms of developing further documentaries on the specific issues? And obviously my issue is very passionate to me, and there are people in the room who've got other things that they could talk about for the Volkies come along. So is there more room to move this forward, the whole project forward, into separate and new?
Well, I think that's the thing we're hoping for, really. That this is a taster to say, well, we kind of put it out there to start with and said, well, what do most people think? They think of Thailand and they think of maybe sex tourists and backpackers. And no one's going to deny that that's present and a feature, but there is just so much more to it. And we're just trying to put enough out there to say, would you like to know more about this? But I think, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've been lucky enough to visit quite a lot of different parts of the country, and it just strikes me that each part has its own history, and it's like a lot of countries that the individual parts of Thailand are, they were separate tribes. They warred amongst themselves at one time before it was all put together, and they've each got their own history. They've each got their own cuisine. And they're each fascinating in their own way, and I think people say to me that if you go to Koh Samui maybe, and then go to Chiang Mai, they feel like completely different countries. And
Are you saying we should make 77 documentaries?
Yeah,
One for each province.
No, I could carry on doing this for ages. But I just think that the material is absolutely endless, and no discredit to the people who are interviewed or who did a terrific job, but sometimes the images just speak for themselves, and I think the way I could look at pictures of Thailand till the cows came home, really, and there's, as you say, there's so much more unexplored. Given the opportunity, we'd love to explore.
If you did continue to kind of explore, as you say, a documentary on different facets of Thailand, would you continue to look at it through the lens of the expat? Because this film was largely
That's a really good question.
through
Really good question.
the lens of most of our experiences, the expat experiences. So would it continue to look at through that lens?
Can I
Pers-
answer that?
Well,
Just
you tell them what you would do, and I tell them what I would do.
No, absolutely. My quick take on that is we've got to think about the audience to start with. So the people who are going to pay for the tickets are probably, to start with, Westerners. You produce a film in English, and you're going to try and initially attract their attention. But no, I think it would be great to be able to say, this is how we see it, but this is how the locals see it, and to see it through. Well, that's a brilliant question. It is very tempting to say this is Thailand, but you're whatever you do, however long you've been here, you're looking in from the outside.
I think if you look at the documentary, the kind of proof of concept that we made, we often introduce one subject, then we interview one person. So if we were to do a documentary on gender, for example, we would say, we'd use the same narrator, we'd say, this is Candy, she lives in Pattaya, this is her journey. And then we would interview her, and we would follow her on her day, and have a mini arc narrative structure about Candy, the difficulties she experiences and how she overcomes them. Maybe if we had a documentary on food, this is Pooh, she's a chef. You know, I would maybe close in on one or two characters for each subject.
I think that would strengthen it, is to kind of follow T.E. Lawrence of Arabia, 7 Pillars of Wisdom. You think of 7 pillars of Bangkok, and make each of those pillars a separate subject.
Yeah,
One is food,
more character
one is
driven.
architecture, one is religion, one is just the history of the place. Then what you do is you set up your film to introduce a series.
Yeah.
And then it'd be easier to sell rather than a one-off documentary.
And I would just add that I think one of the strongest characters in the thing we've just seen was the woman who talked about the front legs and the back legs. And the
Oh yeah, that was
and
brilliant.
more of that would be a voice from inside rather than the I thought she was fantastic.
She kindly slightly disproved the thesis though, because we were trying to say how women were advanced, and then she kind of said, you know, it's still pretty bloody tough being a woman. So
Pragmatic view.
no, but she did it brilliantly. I love the elephant analogy.
Still trying to work out which one's heavier.
Well, it depends on the elephant, doesn't it? Sometimes the head,
Depends on the best.
sometimes the arse. That's great. We're having a creative brainstorming session
Yeah.
here as well. How
You're
to
not
move
getting
forward.
paid for this, by the way.
Not yet.
No, then.
Oh,
Is there any potential to add additional footage? I would have liked to have seen more Wollongong. You had an exterior shot of it, an archival shot.
so there's the part at the end where I talk about the birds being released, the opium sparrows, which I stole from Kevin Wood, actually. He wrote a book called Opium Sparrows, and it's about this very concept of foreigners flying back to the West and coming back to Thailand because they're addicted like the sparrows. It's a great metaphor. And I said, Kevin, can I nick it? And he said yes. So. But I do have somewhere footage through Pat of these very birds at Hula Lumpong in the cages.
Oh wow.
But it's one of those pieces that I just can't find. So I'm going to have to lean on Bangkok Pat to find that and plug it in.
Can I just throw in, this is slightly a private joke between John and I, which I hope he gets, but also partly a creative teaser for him, which is he's got a habit of, just as you get close to the end of the project, saying, is there something else that can be added? Does that mean anything to you, Mr. Fengler? You know where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to leave that there. We'll come back to it as a group.
It's something we hear a lot, actually, as creatives. Can we add something else?
There was this bit I forgot.
Yeah. Okay, guys, if there's no more questions, or if there anybody... no, we all want to get home. So, Leo, how many minutes do we have on the... 22. Perfect. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, for coming again.
Thank you.
So
And
we're going to close the bar at 10 o'clock.
thank you, sir.